In this video, I'm going to show you how to compute or how to value a stock based upon variable growth model, in which case the dividend will grow at a different rate over the time. And in this example, here's what we know about a potential stock that we are trying to value. First of all, we assume the required rate of return of this stock is 15%. And let's assume they just have paid a dividend of $1.50 a share. And let's assume in the next 3 years, the dividend is going to grow by 10% a year. But starting from year 4 and beyond, the dividend will only grow by 5% a year. And our job is to trying to figure out what is the stock price today based on the variable dividend growth model. Okay, so first of all, we need to fill in the blanks right here so that we can have a better understanding of the nature of the dividend in the next few years. Since the dividend will grow by 10% in the next 3 years, what we can do is to simply compute the dividend in the next year by multiplying $1.50 by 1 plus the growth rate of this dividend in the next year. Okay, so it's going to be 165 for the next year, and we can simply drag down to figure out the dividend in the next 2 years, and also drag down to fill all the blanks in. Okay. Now we have a better understanding of the nature of the dividend. Okay, so we have 10% growth in the next 3 years, and then 5% growth beyond into the foreseeable future. Okay, so here, as we are trying to value this stock, essentially we are trying to value the present value of the sequence of cash flow. So the model we are trying to use here is that starting from year 4 onward, so this is essentially a Gordon growth model, I'll say a constant dividend growth model, right? Because the dividend will grow at a constant rate into infinity. So this is the part that we can use the constant dividend growth model to value. However, we need to note and we need to pay close attention to the timing, also to the time point at which we are trying to value the sequence of cash flow. Note that for the constant dividend growth model, we are trying to value a cash flow that will incur in the future. And the first dividend is going to be 1 year from the point, or say 1 period from the point where we are valuing the sequence of cash flow. Therefore, when valuing this sequence of cash flow that I'm highlighting, we are essentially looking at the stock price at a T3, which is 1 period preceding to the first dividend that is going to be paid. Okay, so this is very critical. Okay, once we have cleared this, we can first figure out what's the stock price at a T3. And this is simply a constant dividend growth model where the numerator here is the dividend payment in the next period, which is $2.10. And the denominator is going to be the difference between the required rate of return and the dividend growth rate. Okay, so we close the parenthesis right here and compute that at a T3, the stock price, or say the present value of the future cash flow is going to be $20.96. Okay, now this is not our final destination because what we are trying to do is to figure out what's the stock price for today. Okay, so now what we are doing is essentially to value the present value of a sequence of cash flow. Okay, and this sequence of cash flow can be regarded as a cash flow that only lasts for 3 years, or say 3 periods, because we are essentially reducing all cash flow beyond the year 4 to one single number, which is $20.96. And essentially, I can add this number right here, okay? So we are essentially just looking at this sequence of cash flow, okay? So it's a cash flow starting from next year all the way to year 3. So our job becomes easier because we can simply do a function which is the net present value, okay? And first to tell the Excel what is the discount rate we are trying to use, okay? And here the discount rate is going to be 15%. And then tell the Excel what is the cash flow that we are looking into. Now, the cash flow is going to be, first the cash flow is one period from today, which is 165, okay? Now the second value in this cash flow is of course going to be 182, which is the second cash flow occurred 2 periods from today. Now a little bit tricky is the third cash flow. Okay, now the third cash flow is going to be $2 plus everything that we have computed previously that reduces, or say that replaces all the cash flow from year 4 and beyond. Okay, now we have everything ready because that's all the cash flows that we are trying to figure out. So we can close the parenthesis and press enter, and Excel will tell us the value of this sequence of cash flow is $17.90. Okay, so once again, keep in mind this amount, $20.96, replaces everything that will happen from year 4 and beyond. Okay, and how did we figure out $20.96? That was based on a constant dividend growth model. However, you cannot simply apply the constant dividend growth model to year 1 to year 3, simply because this is a finite number of occurrence instead of an infinite number of occurrence, which is the assumption of using the constant dividend growth model. Okay, all right, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching.